Welcome to TIAA Bank Jaguars Weekend. The game plan for the season has completely changed. A new quarterback and questions on defense have made this week anything but normal.
I really feel like we got to step up and go, and it's a great challenge.
The Jaguars are looking to bounce back against the Texans. We're in the film room taking a look at Deshaun Watson and revealing the 16th best Jaguar of all time. All that and more ahead on Jaguars Weekend.
This is TIAA Bank Jaguars Weekend. TIAA Bank, created to serve, built to perform. And Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com to see how much you could save.
Sometimes, things don't happen like we expect them, and, we just have to have faith that it's for a reason. And, I'm still, grateful I get to, be a part of this team. Obviously, I'll, have surgery, get this thing rolling, and trust the good Lord for, healing and be ready to roll when I am.
There's no bigger nightmare in the NFL than your starting quarterback going down with an injury. The Jaguars accept the circumstances and are moving on. Hello and welcome to TIAA Bank Jaguars Weekend. I'm Ashlyn Sullivan. Jacksonville was excited to see the impact Nick Foles would make on the Jaguars. Now that's on hold until Foles' injured shoulder heals. Doug Marrone believes in a next man up mentality. That guy is a 6th-round draft pick out of Washington State, Gardner Minshew. Minshew mania is in full swing here in Jacksonville. The new starting quarterback will be challenged this week, staring down J.J. Watt. He was able to handle the pressure last week. Minshew went 22 of 25 and finished with a passer rating of 122 against the Chiefs. The coaching staff wants to see more of the same on Sunday.
Go win us a game. That's why we play. That's why we're showing up in Houston. And that's our expectation level to go out and win. He has a lot of confidence in himself. He has a lot of confidence in his teammates and the system. So whenever you have those qualities to you, you're going to go out and have a chance to have success.
None of us can ignore the weight on Minshew's shoulders. It's not easy to replace a Super Bowl MVP. The locker room has made an effort to help their new quarterback as much as they can.
We're behind him. We're prepared to get a game plan around the things that he's good at and make him comfortable and go and win a game.
Nick Foles asked the medical staff to go back on the field after his injury to help Minshew finish the game. This week, Minshew wants to make Foles proud.
The biggest thing he'd want me to do is go in there and win games, help his team win. So I'm going to do that to the best of my ability and do it for these guys.
The attention around Gardner Minshew is in full swing here in Jacksonville as we welcome in Brian Sexton and John Ozier. It's safe to say that we were all genuinely surprised when Gardner Minshew went into last Sunday's game and threw 22 of 25. None of us were expecting that.
Well, it was a shock, and not only did he have the stats, he looked the part. It wasn't as if it was all mop-up. He made throws with better arm strength than I thought he would. He did everything he could possibly do to give you confidence going forward, and now you just got to see that it's real. They're going to do things to try to take away what they saw. They're going to force him into his weaknesses. That's his next step.
He validated the praise that Dave Caldwell, Tom Coughlin, and Doug Marrone heaped on him on draft day. Normally when you draft a kid in the 6th round, Tom Coughlin didn't go down the hallway to extol his virtues, and yet all of them did. And even though we didn't see any of this when he was playing in August during the preseason games, they were confident in him. I wondered whether they'd keep him on the roster. That's how little we saw from him. They not only kept him on the roster, he was number 2. They didn't go sign a veteran, so he justified their confidence in him.
And now he's the man.
The man. The story has definitely changed in a couple of weeks, that's for sure.
Well, you got NFL Network all of a sudden doing whole segments on the mustache of Gardner Flint Minshew II.
So right now, if everything goes according to plan, Nick Foles could come back week 11 against the Colts. What are the realistic expectations for this team until then?
Well, I think you have to figure out a way to win 4. Hopefully get to 4 and 5 at that point. I know there's people talking about what would happen if Minshew lights it up. Who would you play? We're not there yet. With a backup quarterback, even with Foles last week, the whole team didn't play well. So it's not just Minshew. but he has to find some way to help them stay afloat until November.
I don't see him doing Dak Prescott and going 8-0 like Prescott did when he filled in for Romo back in 2016, but 4-4 is reasonable. There's really only one game that I look at on that schedule and go, I don't know how you're going to do it, and that's against the Saints and Drew Brees, because they can put up 40 points like that. It's too much to ask, but there's a reasonable chance if he plays well and the defense does what they're supposed to do, you can win the game. 4-4 would seem to be something they can get done.
It seems realistic as of now, that's for sure.
Yeah, some people might not agree with that, but it's possible.
All right, we have much more to talk about, way more than just Gardner Minshew, coming up on Jaguars Weekend. Stay tuned, we have more for you on Jaguars Weekend. Last week, Texans quarterback Deshaun Watson threw for over 260 yards and 3 touchdowns. Jeff Logman shows us how the Jaguars defense can contain the mobile quarterback. Plus, the 16th best Jaguar of all time was a wide receiver's nightmare. Find out who that is next on Jaguars Weekend.
It's really just a continuous pursuit. You can never be satisfied. Even if you get there 6 times, you got to get there 7. He's incredible player.
Defensive captain Calais Campbell has high praise for Deshaun Watson. Last week, the Jaguars had 0 sacks against the Chiefs. That needs to change on Sunday. Welcome back to TIAA Bank Jaguars Weekend. Last week, the Jaguars defense allowed Patrick Mahomes to throw for over 350 yards and 3 touchdowns. If the defense wants to be the Jaguars' calling card, they're going to have to respond in a big way. The Texans have offensive line issues, but the man under center makes up for it. Stopping Deshaun Watson will not be easy, but it must be done to get this team back on the tracks. Jeff Logman shows us what makes Watson a threat in the Cadillac film room.
Doug, this week you guys have a tremendous challenge. You mentioned him this week in the breadth of MVP. We're talking about Deshaun Watson, the quarterback of the Houston Texans. I don't know if he's an MVP candidate, but he is a tough SOB in my opinion.
Oh, he sure is. I think, during the week they were asking about, Mahomes, who we played last week, comparing him to Deshaun Watson. And I told them their performances are MVP-type performances. And obviously with Mahomes being the MVP last year. And I think, it's the same with Watson here. I mean, he can sit in the pocket. He takes big hits. You see it here. And even later in the game, there's another big hit. He'll take the hits, stand in there and make all the throws. He can extend the plays, and he can run the ball himself and score. So the guy is extremely clutch. He has great poise, and he's a winner.
Yeah, what a great throw here, like you said, under pressure, and then over the shoulder to DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, that's about as good as you can get. And then he follows that up a little bit later with this throw to Kenny Stills, and Kenny Stills never even has to break stride whatsoever.
Yeah, he never breaks stride, and it's the end of the game. They're driving to win the game, and this is coming down here to take the lead. And again, he takes another shot. He hangs in there. And these quarterbacks, they have a good feel, when this rush is coming, and he sets his feet and lets it go, and again, like you said, he doesn't break stride, and it's they have a lot of weapons now. Kenny Stills hasn't been there that long. He came in with Tunsil, the left tackle. They're getting some players back, so they have a lot of weapons now on offense.
And he made those throws with a back injury that kind of cropped up on this scramble that he had here for a touchdown. I mean, when I talk about being a tough guy, I mean, you know me, Doug, I'm a defensive guy, and I'm not one to throw around tough guy,
offensive players,
compliments
right?
to a quarterback, but if it was warranted, it would be with this guy.
He'll do whatever he can to score or get that first down. I think it goes back to, the type of competitor he is, and the definition of him is, the guy's a winner. And
Great challenge.
It's a great challenge.
Great challenge for your defense on a bounce-back week.
Yes.
Thanks, Jeff. Safety is one of the most important positions on a football team. A mistake from them normally leads to a touchdown. The 16th best Jaguar of all time brought a level of violence to the Jaguars' defense. That's none other than Donovan Darius.
The Jaguars All-25, presented by Sharpie.
Number 16, Donovan Darius.
If your feet were on the ground, you were decleated. If you're outstretched trying to catch the ball, you might be decapitated.
In the late 90s and early 2000s, if you were a wide receiver or running back and you were playing the Jaguars, you always knew where number 20 was on the field.
The Dick Duran line, when the Jaguars drafted Donovan Darius, is he'll bring some violence to our defense. He was a crusher. He was a crushing, bone-chilling tackler.
Safety Donovan Darius was a big hitter, and no offensive player was safe.
They don't forget the intimidation that teams felt when you knew you had to play against a guy like that. Now everyone's putting safeties at linebacker. He was a linebacker at safety.
You didn't want to go across the middle if Donovan was anywhere in the vicinity because you knew you were going to get hit.
Darius patrolled the Jaguars' defensive backfield for 8 seasons. He registered 20 takeaways during his time in Duval.
He throws him, he's got a man down the field, and this one's intercepted. Donovan Darius has got it. And now launches a pass, and this one is intercepted. Darius has got it at the 30.
But Double D was better known for his jaw-rattling tackles.
Fierce is the best word that I can use to describe him. He was intense, hard hitter. Occasionally would get to the play a split second too late.
If you went across the middle, he was going to hit you. And he was going to try and hit you. And he would hit you. And he would knock you out. And he would knock you out of the game.
Darius was a throwback whose style of play may not be accepted in today's NFL.
No, Donovan was so old school that he would be fined his entire year's pay. The guy took great pride in his body, and he built himself to be a battering ram. And that's what he was for most of his career. Battering rams don't make the Hall of Fame. But battering rams make a huge impact in the game, and he did.
And his impact on the Jaguars gets him on this list. Donovan Darius is the 16th best Jaguar of all time.
There's more to come on TIAA Bank Jaguars Weekend. Up next, we follow a wide receiver in the community and fire up the grill with a member of the Pride of the Jaguars.
Going to his left, still looking downfield, now fires toward the end zone. Dede Westbrook, did he get in the end zone? Yes, he did. Touchdown. Dede for the TD. Touchdown, Jacksonville.
The Jaguars are expecting many more touchdowns from number 12 this season. Welcome back to TIAA Bank Jaguars Weekend. The Jaguars need Dede Westbrook to make major strides this season. He had an impressive training camp and appears to be on his way to having a productive season. Dede has also made strides in the community. This Baptist Health feature showcases a cause close to the wide receiver's heart.
To stay healthy and in top shape, Jaguars wide receiver Dede Westbrook knows the importance of the staff behind the scenes. That's one reason why he joined officials from the Jacksonville Sports Medicine Program, Duval County Schools, the Jaguars Foundation, and Wolfson Children's Hospital to announce the final 5 schools to join Project 17.
We have 17 public high schools in Duval County. This culminates our program that we started 5 years ago and our promise to have full-time athletic trainers in all 17 public high schools.
Another reason why the cause hits home for Westbrook, a medical scare during a high school game in his tiny hometown of Cameron, Texas.
I was in high school, ended up taking a knee to my stomach. It was pretty fatal, and if it wasn't for my trainer, then there's no telling what would have happened.
Athletic trainers are the first line of treatment for major injuries. They create emergency action plans and manage athletes battling the Florida heat. But Westbrook also learned some of the basics of the craft.
My very first experience, and I need to get with Scott, for sure, and take on some extra taping lessons.
For TIAA Bank Jaguars Weekend, I'm JP Shatter.
Athletic trainers don't always get the appreciation they should in this game. Dede Westbrook is taking matters into his own hands to show them love. Now we head to the patio with former Jaguars kicker Josh Scobie and Pride of the Jaguars Tony Baselli for Grillin' with the Greats.
Hey, I'm Josh Scobie, former Jaguar kicker, and we are Grillin' with the Greats, presented by Next Grill. And I'm here with Tony Baselli, the very first draft pick in Jaguar history, and we are doing something a little out of the ordinary today, grilling pizza.
Yeah, it's not normal, but it looks good.
Looks great. Let's give it a try.
Sounds good.
You are going to be a Hall of Famer soon.
Let's hope so.
Let's hope so. It'll happen one day. We're all optimistic about it. But are you a Hall of Fame griller?
You know, I can cook one thing on the grill, and that's a steak.
Yeah.
Nothing else. I have zero skills with anything else. My wife handles the rest of it. But if it's a steak, I can manage that only because my whole family likes it medium rare. So how bad can you mess that up? Just kind of get it going on each side and put it on the plate.
The Jacksonville Jaguars select tackle from University of Southern California, Tony Baselli.
Tony, being the cornerstone of the franchise as a starting left tackle and one of the best in history, what does that mean to you?
You know, it's always been a huge honor just to be the first pick of the franchise ever. I probably didn't realize what it meant when I first got here, and when Tom Coughlin actually coined that phrase the first time at the introductory press conference. But it's been, the organization is a huge part of my life now. I mean, I had 4 of my 5 kids in the city. I'm only here because of the Jaguars, and I fell in love with the city. So being the first pick ever and having such a big part of this franchise from the beginning, but still a part of it. It's a big part of my life, and I really consider it an honor.
So if you could have 3 people in the world of the Jags organization for a cookout, who would that be?
Well, it depends. You know, if it was when I was playing, I'd have to invite Tom over because he's the head coach.
You would have to.
We're trying to win today. Who's going to get the better lunch?
Would you have to be on Coughlin time for the cookout?
Well, you'd have to start the grill early because he's going to be here earlier than anyone else, and
preheating the grill.
It'll be a little uncomfortable, so I'd have to invite when I was a player, invite Tom. But if I look at the history of the Jaguars, while Tom would be in the top 5, I'm not sure he makes the top 3. Mark Brunell's my first. He's my best friend.
You protected him for a long time.
Protected him, and I can throw good jabs at him all the time. I'd invite Shad Khan. One, he's the boss.
Yeah.
He's the owner.
He'd probably bring some Kobe beef.
Well, he'd bring great meat.
Yeah.
And honestly, in my lifetime, one of the most interesting people I've been around. And what he's been able to accomplish as a professional, obviously with the team, but his business. I love just talking to him and hearing stories and picking his brain and see if I can learn anything. And then I got an obscure name for you, former Jaguar Jeff Novak, because he is by far, he played offensive line with me. He actually played right next to me in those early years. By far the funniest Jaguar in the history of the organization. So he'd bring comic relief.
That hurts my feelings. I thought I was.
Well, you're close, but it'd bring some comic relief, and every barbecue needs a couple good laughs.
That's a good point. You always want people for that camaraderie around the grill.
Time.
Talk about it. Yeah, you don't want someone to be stuffy around the grill.
Absolutely not.
You know, we've let this pizza cook. It's been in here for a few minutes. We don't want to overcook it because one thing about grills is you can't go back and cook it less. So let's check out the pizza and maybe take a bite.
Looking forward to it.
Pepperoni and cheese. There we go.
I'm going to take a bite of this one.
I'd say we did a pretty good job.
Outstanding.
Up next on TIAA Bank Jaguars Weekend, the keys to keep pace in the division race are next.
Jaguars Weekend is presented in part by TIAA Bank, created to serve, built to perform. And Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com to see how much you could save.
Game day. Ooh, you're 12 for me too, baby. It's sweet. It's sweet. It's sweet. Best shot in my life, baby. Ready to take over. Just watch. It's a heavyweight belt, bro. It's a fight. Go. Oh. Come on, Calais, you missing easy tackles. Let's go. Water's warm. Come on, hop in. I ain't never been no quarter. Go.
Nice tackle, baby.
It's not us. It's not 2019 Jaguars. We're going to respond.
Calais Campbell knows this defense is going to have to step up against the Texans on Sunday as we welcome back Brian and John. They weren't able to get to Patrick Mahomes once last week. Now, Deshaun Watson was sacked 6 times in Monday Night Football. It's going to have to change this week.
Well, you would like to think with the offensive line in such disarray in Houston. They traded for Laramie Tunsil, and he gave up 2 sacks. I think he's a good player. I think he'll eventually settle in. But they don't have a rhythm on the offensive line, and Deshaun Watson didn't just get sacked 6 times. He got hit 11 times, which means he's on pace for more than 150 quarterback hits this year. He won't survive that.
That's all well and good. The Jaguars have to cover better to allow the defensive line to get home. Everybody's talking about the defensive line. If DeAndre Hopkins and the Texans wide receivers are running around wide open, guess what? There's going to be no sacks, no hits. It's on the secondary.
DeAndre Hopkins was targeted 13 times on Monday night in New Orleans. Will Fuller and Kenny Stills, the two targeted 6 combined. That's it. It's going to Hopkins. This is on Ramsey.
Quickly, guys, that performance against the Chiefs, uncharacteristic for the Jaguars defense. They have to rebound this week and get out of that, or they can't call themselves a great defense anymore.
It better be uncharacteristic, and it's happened sometimes. They've had some brain fades in the past. Time to get out and be consistent.
I'm not calling them a great defense now. There is talent. They have to prove it.
All right, let's see if the Jaguars can take a hold of the AFC South Sunday against the Texans. We'll be back soon right here on Jaguars Weekend.